Okay, we're going to do adding and subtracting radical expressions. Um, and the only way that you can do that is if you have like radicals. You can add radical expressions if what's under the radical is exactly the same. So radicand is probably a new word for you. If we want to look at, if I see this, I see square root of 16. The bar over the 16 is my radical, and the number underneath my radical is called the radicand. So if you hear people saying um, the number underneath or the radicand has to be the same, it's that number underneath. So if we look at this little chart here, you can see that things that have like radicals have things under the radical that are the same. Radical 5 and radical 5 are the same. Radical x and radical x are the same. Square root 4t, square root 4t are the same. The boxes below, those don't have the same thing underneath the little bar, so those are considered unlike radicals, and we can only add things that have like radicals. So for an example, really all you're using is the distributive property to add like radicals. When you see something like this, since what's under the radical is the same, you just go ahead and add the 4 and the 2, and you get 6 radical 5. Really what you're doing is factoring out that radical 5, and then you're left with 2 plus 4, which gives me 6 radical 5. So it's the same thing. Same thing here. What's underneath is the same. When you look at this, you're seeing 4 radical x. Essentially what you're doing is factoring out the radical x. You're left with 6 minus 2, which leaves me with 4 radical x. So you don't need to show that step. That's just how your brain processes it. I'm fine if you just go ahead and subtract the numbers in front or add the numbers in front, but that's just kind of the process and how we use that property. So let's just look through, for example, 1. We can see that what's underneath the radical here is exactly the same. So we can go ahead and we can think of this as 9 minus 4 times radical 3, which is going to give me 5 radical 3. These are not the same under the radical, so we cannot combine these, and that's my simplified answer. C is a little different because we don't see a number in front of the first term there. We assume there's a 1 there. What's underneath the radical is the same. So we can go ahead and think of this as 1 minus 7 radical m, which gives me negative 6 radical m. And then on the last one, these two can be combined together. This one here cannot be combined. So we end up with 2 plus 9 radical xy plus 2 radical y. 11 radical xy plus 2 radical y is our final answer there. I'll go ahead and do the other examples on another video so it doesn't get too long here.